This happened about 4 years ago when I was in college. I was working part-time as a barista at a small local coffee shop to help pay for tuition. It was a pretty good job, except for one thing. I was almost always scheduled for the closing shift, which meant I was usually there by myself from around 8 p.m. until we closed at 10. The shop was on a relatively quiet street, part of a small strip of businesses that were all closed by that time of night. The only other place with lights on was a laundromat a few doors down. For the first few months, everything was normal. I'd serve the last few customers, wipe down the counters, restock the pastries for the morning crew, and mop the floors. My routine was always the same. At 10 p.m. sharp, I'd flip the sign on the door to closed, lock it from the inside, and finish my cleaning. It was probably sometime in November when I first noticed the car. It was a dark sedan, maybe a Honda or a Toyota, old and a bit beat up. It was always parked on the opposite side of the street, directly across from the coffee shop's big front window. I didn't think much of it at first. People park on the street all the time, but after a week of seeing it there every single night, in the exact same spot, it started to register as odd. I'd catch glimpses of it while I was wiping down the espresso machine. Through the big plate glass window, under the dim glow of the streetlights, it just sat there, silent and still. I could never see inside clearly. The windows were too dark, the distance too great. I told myself it probably belonged to someone who lived in one of the apartments above the shops, or maybe someone visiting the laundromat. It was a logical explanation, and for a while it was enough to keep my mind at ease. But the feeling that something was off just wouldn't go away. I started paying more attention. I realized the car wasn't there when my shift started at 3 p.m. It only appeared after sunset, usually around 8 or 9 p.m., and it was always gone by the time I drove past the next morning on my way to class. It was only there during my closing shift when I was alone. I started to feel a small, cold knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach each night as I cleaned. My routine, once a source of comfort, now felt like a performance. I was acutely aware of the big, brightly lit window I was working in front of, feeling like a fish in a bowl. I would try to do my tasks in the back room as much as possible, away from the window. I started talking to my boyfriend on the phone while I mopped, just to have another voice in the empty shop. He told me I was just psyching myself out, that it was probably nothing. I wanted to believe him. One Tuesday night, the feeling got worse. The street was completely dead. Not a single car passed for what felt like an hour. The laundromat was empty. It was just my little island of light and the dark sedan across the street. As I was taking out the trash to the dumpster in the back alley, a weird impulse made me stop and listen. The alley was dead silent. There was no hum of an engine. The car was just sitting there, turned off. That detail, for some reason, scared me more than anything else. A person waiting for someone at the laundromat would probably keep their car running for heat. Someone who lived nearby would have gone inside by now. This person was just sitting in a cold, dark car for hours, doing nothing, just waiting. The final night, I was on edge from the moment I walked in. I couldn't shake the image of that dark, silent car. I did my work as fast as I could, my eyes constantly darting towards the front window. It was there, of course, a dark shape in the gloom. At 9:59 p.m., I had my coat on and my bag ready by the door. I just wanted to get out of there. I flipped the sign, twisted the lock in the heavy glass door, and heard the familiar heavy thunk as the bolt slid into place. I pulled the key out, and as I turned to put it in my purse, a flicker of movement across the street caught my eye. The car's interior light had just turned on. For the first time in all those weeks, I could see a silhouette inside, a man. He wasn't looking at his phone or reading something. He was leaning forward, his hands on the steering wheel, and he was staring directly at me. My blood went ice cold. My entire body froze. He knew my routine. He knew I was alone. He knew I had just locked the door. He wasn't waiting for someone at the laundromat. He wasn't a resident. He had been watching me every night. He had been waiting for this exact moment, the moment I was locked out of the safety of the shop and standing alone on the sidewalk. Then he started his car. The headlights flashed on, pinning me in their glare like a deer. I didn't think, I just ran. I sprinted down the dark sidewalk, not towards my car, which was parked further down the street, but towards the bright lights of the laundromat. I heard the sound of a car door opening, then slamming shut. I didn't dare look back. I fumbled with the glass door of the laundromat and threw myself inside, my heart hammering against my ribs. I stood there gasping for air and watched as the dark sedan slowly pulled away from the curb, its headlights sweeping across the street before it turned the corner and disappeared into the night. I never saw the car or the man again. I called my manager right then and told her I quit. I couldn't explain it in a way that didn't make me sound crazy, but I didn't care. I just knew I could never go back there at night again. I still think about it sometimes, especially when I'm walking alone at night. I think about how many nights he sat there, watching me, learning my schedule. And I think about what would have happened if I had been just a few seconds slower, or if I had decided to walk to my car instead.